right, we are back. This is the Two Kings Challenge. I'm Frank McFarland. I'm here with Brian King. This is week two. We've had a little bit of an opportunity to dive into this thing, and we're going to talk through, some of what has been going on. It has been an interesting week for sure. There have been challenges already that I've experienced, and I know Brian, you've had a little bit of an interesting run here in the early going too.
Yeah, it's been quite a week. Excited to kind of get back to it. I've really been surprised at the laser focus that this contest has allowed me to do, because not only has it made me think about Asheville and some of the thought processes there, but really about some of the basics around the firm. So it's been really exciting. I think it's been a good experience for a lot of people.
Yeah, I definitely have noticed a lot of that too. We have, it's amazing how much this is going to involve everybody else. And we've noticed that pretty quickly. Some positive feedback, some negative. So we're going to have our work cut out for us in terms of doing this thing. Obviously this decision to do this wasn't necessarily the biggest for either of us. We've been talking about ideas, and this one came to mind. And then, even a little bit of blowback on some of that early, the people that we didn't include, or, those discussions that we didn't have. So there's a lot to it. And, I know we're working through a lot of those points now too.
Well, Frank, you've been up since 5 o'clock working on this. You've been doing that every day. So as soon as somebody is ready to join you at 5 a.m. meetings, then be able to then we can talk from there. And coming in and recording before 7. I really do appreciate that part of it, and that's just the nature of any kind of business. But I would emphasize to everybody that this is just something we kind of kicked around and did for fun. To kind of motivate each other. We're competitors by nature. It wasn't really meant to be anything more than that, and it's really has spiraled into something bigger. And I really do think that that's overall a good thing. But I do want to make sure that everybody knows that this is just the kind of thing that motivates people, and that's what the two of us do, is motivate just an awesome team. And it wouldn't work if we didn't have people who are really excited about it.
Well, let's get started off of that. One of the first things that we wanted to do today was talk through kind of what our stakes might be. We're calling this a competition, so we might as well have some kind of prize to the winner. I know we've talked through some of those options. We haven't yet landed on exactly what that will look like. So Brian, I kick it over. What do you think?
Well, that you have me reading 10X. So first I was thinking, let's 10X this thing. Whoever wins gets a Corvette, or whoever wins maybe a trip to Europe, coming up with some different ideas. Then it dawned on me that John controls a lot of the money around here. And he's used to my crazy ideas, but might not be able to pull some of those things off. And it really did not embody what I think is the best parts of the of this, and that is that we're motivating a larger team, and also the level of competition. So I was thinking that something that might have a little bit of one-upsman on the winner, and maybe a little bit of a reminder to the person who doesn't pull it off, regardless of exactly how we work it out. So you had any ideas along that line?
Yeah, I would say that way more important to me than what I might gain out of this is the embarrassment that I want you to feel after I beat you at this, especially with all the advantages that you had going in. And
advantages going in. I mean, I'm shocked. Of course, it's not crossed my mind about losing, so I haven't really put any thought to it. So, all right, what do you got in mind?
Well, I think that and I touched on this a little bit at the start, but one of the things here is we're not going to be able to do this alone. It's going to involve a team effort, and probably there's no right number in terms of how many people it's going to take for either one of us to win this thing. But I know that's going to be more than one. So I was thinking maybe whatever that benefit is, that maybe it involve, maybe the winner plus three who have, that we feel have contributed the most in terms of the success of Charlotte when we experience that victory.
Maybe something that also takes a little negative to the other side. Maybe a little subservient role. Maybe me and my three that I roll with to bring Asheville over the top. Maybe serve us some dinner.
Yeah, I think I like that. I like that. So I'm trying to think of exactly how this could play out.
I'm thinking that not only does that person have to do some level of preparing the dinner, but maybe full tux, and in a server mentality, and possibly going around and making sure that each person has a maybe fantastic 2 or 3, maybe 4-course meal.
Well, and there will be, if we were to go this route, I think my cup is going to definitely, it's going to have to be full at all times. I mean, I'm going to be making sure that you're aware, that the water cup or whatever it might be is getting a little low. So,
I mean, I'm going to be taking the temperature of every everything that comes in just to make sure. I'll see if I can come up with some Hollywood requirements, maybe some rock and roll band requirements for an event on what they might look for. I think I could probably come up with a good menu for you to put together.
I like that. What if we just say that? What if we say that this dinner is going to take place in the winning office?
I like it.
We can have, we can have our last and final episode maybe, or at least clip, come from, that beautiful Charlotte office, with the look out over the city, and just, and you in full tux and serving us, whatever meal we choose, I guess, or however we decide on that.
Dream on that. Frank. I mean, Asheville in the spring. I mean, you just really. I mean, I may invite the Obamas over. I mean, and we may have just quite an event, and nothing will make me happier than to see you with a little white towel over your arm. Yeah, so I look forward to it. Hopefully, this will be a little bit more incentive for around the office too, on our team. I can tell you that I know we're about to jump into some different things, but my team is already pumped up, and I didn't even know that I had a team. So it's been quite a bit. And what I really like is the people that send me text at 5:30 in the morning and say, "What are you doing?" And when my response is, "I'm still in bed," they're like, "Frank's not." A lot of these kind of things that are, I really do appreciate the motivation around the office. So yeah, tell me a little bit about what you got going on.
Yeah, I want to touch on one other thing real quick. We talked last week that we may talk budget a little bit this week. I think we've kind of decided, we're not going to spend a lot of time on it, but at least at this point, we're going to keep that to kind of our typical, management group type decisions on budget. We may, if there are certain parts that come up, maybe events or things like that we talk about, I think it would be good if we came up with some kind of guidelines for that at that point. I know that I've at least got one in the works, and we'll touch on some of that later on too. But I want to dive in. We have a lot has happened in the last 7 days or 6 days.
Yes.
I guess it is 7 days since episode 2
That's right.
we did. And this should be about the time that we come to you every week, but I am going to start, with an update, and we're going to try to break it down that way. But what I'll consider the first Charlotte update is one that I think is going to be a fascinating listen. I did an interview this week with Josh Valentine of Calder Valentine out of Shelby and Gastonia. I touched on that a little bit before. I found it fascinating. He, younger attorney, not too young, but he has been practicing, and they started that office up together, and have really taken off on a lot of the online side of marketing. And I found it fascinating, a lot of the things that they have done. And for purposes of this, I touched on this a little bit last week, but when I thought of them, I did a search for family law attorney in Charlotte, and Calder Valentine popped up first. It was an ad, but popped up first, and it blew my mind. I mean, Charlotte is a huge market, and Calder Valentine does not even have a Charlotte office. And as you'll hear in that interview, not only that, but they aren't even taking cases in Charlotte. So, it kind of became an interesting transition at that point, because I was kind of wondering what they were doing so well in Charlotte. And it became, how can we tap into this, potentially, that they are doing. So, I look forward to everybody getting a chance that's watching this to see that interview. It is definitely worth a listen. And I thought that Josh did a pretty fantastic job of defining what it is that separates a lot of law firms. There are a lot of firms that have done it the same way, for 20, 25, 30 years, and they get the same results. And that doesn't mean that they're bad. It doesn't mean that they're not making, money, but they're not as much in the business side. And a lot of what Josh touched on there, I think, is really pertinent to those parts. And it really showed early on that when they were starting the firm, they weren't thinking in the same old ways that everybody else was marketing. And their website and their online success, I think, really shows that. So I'm hopeful that we'll get a couple calls, a couple direct leads from that, in terms of referrals on Charlotte cases that they may be getting calls on. But then in addition, I thought it also gave some good insight for what we might need to dive into on the Charlotte market. And I think it gave me another area to take a little more look at, which is the, kind of what we're doing on the AdWords side, at least in Charlotte, and how we make and replicate what Calder Valentine was able to do.
Yeah, that's impressive, and there's so much that goes into that. And I think lawyers have this concept of, I've got to throw money at a problem in order to solve that. That's not just lawyers; that's all kinds of business. And when you hear, and I cannot wait, because I haven't heard the full transcript, but we've talked fairly extensively about what some of that has looked like, and I know those guys. And it takes me back 20 years ago, when King Law was starting in a completely different marketing environment, but it's always the same. I mean, I'm sure this, Abraham Lincoln starting his firm probably got out and started walking around and asking, shaking hands and getting to know the communities that he was around. And those things have not changed. And 20 years from now, will be the same things that will be an important piece of that. But the tools that you use, and those guys are really cutting edge in terms of that. I really appreciate them taking some time out and really opening themselves up to you. I hope we get to do that with several other firms around, and hopefully some people outside of that. So my last week is my follow up from last time. I said that I had in mind a leader for the Asheville office, and that I had even said I'm going to meet with them on Monday, and they have no idea about it. I did arrange that and did have that meeting, and I had one of those frank discussions where it was, look, I'm not here to interview you, I'm here to hire you, and I really thought that it went well. Problem is that like anytime you're going after good talent, there's other people going after, and lo and behold, some really good interviews that he also is dealing with, and some things like that I'm hoping to be able to announce it. But honestly, when I heard some of the things that he was in, I had to say, like, okay, well, that's intriguing. I mean, what kind of options are available? So I'm hoping I'm not back at the starting point, but I'm still working that. And of course, I believe very strongly in making sure that when you make an offer to somebody, you have an offer in hand, something they can look at, and then a good Q&A that they can follow up from. And that's the way we've always done it here at King Law, and feel strongly about it. But I really tried to emphasize that a little bit more. And then I've been very impressed. Victoria Corey is an attorney here at our office. She's been working at HQ for a little over a year. She has shown a lot of energy in her cases. She is an Elon grad. Elon is a very small law school here in North Carolina, and they graduate their students in December. It's an interesting program, a little bit more than what we have time to talk about today. But she joined us after a December graduation, a 2.5-year degree that they have for their law school program. It was really intriguing. It was a different kind of hire for us. And she came in mid-year and has really shown a lot of energy. Well, I've asked her about coming up and going into the Asheville office. Her clients absolutely love her. She has a fairly full caseload outside of Buncombe, but she seems high energy. She's going to be a great addition to the team, really starting there. And Penny Charles is my current case manager there. Got a chance to kind of break down and find out what's really going on with her. So I spent a lot of time on people. My intent is to probably hire 2 more attorneys, ultimately for the Asheville office. That is absolutely an offer to you guys that are listening to this. If you're interested, we made a couple of offers, I believe, in the for the idea of a July bar takers and putting together some of the team a little bit longer term. So it's out there. Doing a lot of work with my LinkedIn group. That's where I'm hoping a lot of you guys are listening from. That's 6,500 connections strong, and I get a lot of good feedback from everybody on that. So that's a little bit about what's been going on this past week for me, and I got some ideas as well.
Yeah, I think that's a lot going on, obviously, in terms of that. And I know that we do a lot of interviews. We talk to a lot of 3Ls that are about to graduate law school. We talk to people kind of all over the map with our footprint. And we get a large percentage that want to go to Charlotte and Nashville, but it's difficult because we're doing this. We're taking 90 days and dedicating a lot of energy to just making those offices successful. And it's one of those things that for a lot of people, they assume they already are. They assume that's kind of the top sort of office, and I want to be there. But that's difficult for us right now. And I think you're dealing with something very different from what our normal hiring process looks like, in terms of we're more actively recruiting somebody that we think could kind of be the face of that office and help grow it with an experienced presence. So I think that's interesting, and it's something that at least I'll touch on a little bit later, but I may have, that may be my one advantage in terms of Charlotte too. But the second thing I want to touch on a little bit, and this is one that I've spent a ton of time with this last week, and that is I have created a TikTok page. I had very little knowledge about what TikTok was. I spent a great deal of time watching a lot of the attorneys that are successful at it do that, and the kind of the type of videos that they were making, the type of things that were getting traction. I certainly took some of our 10X concepts to that. One of the things that I read was, well, you need to do at least 2 videos a week. I haven't gone all the way to 20, but my thought is at least 10, so 10 is my line. So I've been doing 2 videos a day. On that, I may have had too much success too quick. My first 2, not a lot of, they were not viral by any stretch, but I think both cleared the 600 view mark. And I thought, man, this is easy. I mean, I've got it made. I'll be at 10,000 followers in no time. And then my next 2 videos were about 90 views, I think, maybe. So shot down. I don't know. I actually thought they were better videos than the first two. So wasn't real sure where we are there, but I've had a little more success on some after. I think the key there is probably getting a couple that really take off. But I'm plugging away. It did take me. I was a little discouraged yesterday, and I went back through at some of the accounts that I've been following, and it kind of been inspiration for me. I went back through and I'm like, I'm just going to scroll back to the first videos they posted and see how many views they have. And I saw that I think we stack up okay with that. So I'm still hopeful. That is King Law CLT. I have been including Charlotte in those hashtags. Charlotte Lawyer is a pretty popular hashtag too. But the interesting thing about TikTok is it's still a very, very new market. And I think as we really strive to be ahead of where our competition is in a lot of areas, this is still kind of a pioneer market that we can work through. Probably not as pioneering in Charlotte or in Asheville, but for the locations we're in, I think it's almost non-existent, in terms of what our competition looks like. So I'm hopeful that we'll get some traction there, and it's not going to be for lack of effort. I've spent a lot of hours on that every day this week, and my Fitbit can certainly show my wake up times, and I've even been getting started a little bit ahead of 5 on some occasions, like this morning. So Brian, don't think 5's going to do it. I think it was more like 4:30 today. But I've been working through that, and it's been really interesting. And there are a lot of areas of this that are very new for me and out of my comfort zone. But I've been really fired up and inspired to do those things. So we'll see what it works out. I got a little challenge in one of our other offices too about helping me garner some views on TikTok, and I know that too many people in the office, word has gotten out, because I've noticed a new follower that I had on TikTok was I don't remember the exact hashtag, but something WNC attorney, and I think Brian may have inspired one of our female attorneys to take up the acts against me for Asheville. So we'll see how that ends up playing out. I've not seen any videos yet though.
That's all right. First of all, I'm shocked that it can only be 600 views, because I swear that I had over 600 people send it to me to tell me how much hard work Frank is doing. I'm frankly am tired of seeing that beard show up on my text messages. I get it. Frank's got an awesome TikTok. You don't have to tell me anymore. It has motivated and created a team. I think that you inadvertently woke a sleeping dog, and have really checked this thing out. I did not, despite how young I look, I I was a little surprised to see what TikTok had come. In full disclosure, my son has been on TikTok, and I've had to negotiate now a couple of different contracts that he's been involved in. His videos include a couple that are over 20 million views, and they weren't what I would consider law school friendly videos. I was kind of shocked and disappointed in America to see what kind of success that he had. And then lo and behold, I have really seen that this is it's a way to take what I love, and I think that our firm it fits what we've done, and that is take the true legal issues and those things and add a little bit of spin of humor to it, and make it very tangible for the people. I've always been enamored with the way music and these kind of things have often touched on some very serious legal issues, and done it in a way that allows for everyone to be able to see it. And I thought your TikTok was fantastic. And I think that account is it's something that's useful for every day, and it's made a lot of fun. It's brought some energy to the office. So kudos. That means a lot. I understand that I'm fully and squarely in second place on the TikTok contest aspect, but we're going to be in the game. I don't know if it's going to be over this next week because I'm not going to put out crap. It's going to be good quality stuff, and we're gonna come up with just because we're on the mat and getting the 8 count doesn't mean that this fight is over. So yeah, we're going to be working some on TikTok, and also some other media outlets to kind of pump that up. But like I said, team building first, and building our purpose for that actual office has been where it is. But I'm loving what you do. So what else are you thinking in terms of what other challenges are you seeing in this early stages?
Well, it hasn't all been success. I had, I talked about, I had 10 names that I started with last week in terms of interviews that I wanted to do. I've achieved, I think only one of those at this point. I had 2 that were scheduled and have now rescheduled. So, it has not been, it hasn't been all rainbows there. And when it comes to, I did go a little bit extreme on a few of those. I did reach out to Grant Cardone about an interview. And we actually got a call back from his team yesterday, but unfortunately I was in the middle of a deposition and couldn't answer the call. So, maybe we'll see. I don't have a feeling that he's going to give up if I know his team strategy in terms of the sales aspect, but my guess is that's going to come with a price tag also. So, we'll see how that works. I sent Tepper a letter. There were some other individuals that I thought more locally that I expected a better response from that I haven't yet. That may still happen. I will touch on just a few other things that I think, could be successful with it. I had a really good conversation. I'm going to spend more time with her, but really good conversation with a couple different attorneys that are with a collaborative law group in Charlotte. Collaborative law is kind of an interesting way to practice law, I guess is the best way to describe it. It is a training that Brian and I did, 5 or 6 years ago. And, it's a part that I wish was a bigger part of my practice, in some stages, because I do think it's really good for a lot of the people that are going through it if you're able to do that. But essentially it starts with signed agreements that, you're not going to go to court, at least with those attorneys that you're using for that process. And the goal is to try to work through those things collaboratively to resolve those issues. But this collaborative law group, and I'm going to find the name here, so I'll make sure. I know there are a couple of organizations in Charlotte, a couple that I reached out to, but I had a great conversation with Irene King, who I hope to have an interview with later this week or possibly next week. She's a family law specialist, and this is in collaborative law. After spending time as a litigator, at one of the big Charlotte firms, she transitioned into her own practice and made collaborative law a big part of it. And now I think that is King Collaborative Law as her firm, which is a good size firm there. But I've had a lot of discussion about Charlotte, about the market, and about, this Charlotte Collaborative Divorce Group, which we may be looking into also in terms of where we are. They are always looking for new members, and just so happens that we're trained. And I've had collaborative cases, not very many. I wish it was a few more, but I know you've done a couple too. But some of the good experiences there. So that's a lot of what the rest of my update has been this week. I'm also going to spend more time with Tom Morris, who's our junior partner who is moving to Charlotte. We have plans to do that tomorrow. And Blake Welch, who's our personal injury attorney that we touched on before, who's working out of that Charlotte office too. Both are fantastic. It's just a matter of figuring out where we are. I did get a memo that Tom's calendar is loaded up with Charlotte appointments today, where he is. And I told him I was going to be in Charlotte tomorrow. And I noticed that I have a few new appointments, and I'm told that at least one of those our intake team believes is a really good case. So, there's a lot of positives working in Charlotte direction. We'll see a lot of seeds being planted. We'll see what comes out of those. But overall, I feel really optimistic, and I think next week is going to be a big week for Charlotte.
It really is exciting to hear all those things. I'm glad you're catching up with Irene. She is fantastic. I helped drive that Western North Carolina collaborative group, WNC Collaborative Law.com, if you want to take a look at it on the website. And she was fantastic. I was able to do some talks with her, and when what she's put together in Charlotte is great, and she will be a great resource because collaborative law always takes two attorneys. If you can get on that front end, it really allows you to kind of take a different spin on the practice of family law. I spent a lot of time this week putting up some training videos. And I decided to launch some of that up on LinkedIn and got an incredible response. My very first one was just our basic, what's the King Law? I call it the series, the King Law Way, and the way we practice law. Started with purpose, got over 1,000 views on LinkedIn of the video, got a lot of likes across really across the country, and including one of my personal heroes, Jack Newton, who started with a partner, Clio, which I've had the honor to be able to speak at the Clio conference the last 3 years, and really enjoyed being a part of that group. And as we know, we're a big Clio firm and have a lot of great contacts there. They spread it around, got a lot of interest in, and I think that it's something I want to continue on. And reaching out to those same people is probably part of what we're going to be putting together. Victoria and I are meeting in Asheville a little bit later on today. We're going to be spending some time working on not just the building of our people, but some facilities work, getting her a little bit more acclimated with the family judges there. We're going to be spending some time in court and spending some time digging into to some of our game planning that we're doing. I will make sure I tell Victoria about the dinner you're going to be serving her later, so she will definitely be on the list. I do appreciate that kind of work, and Anna Kegley, who has been working a lot with both of us on building firms and watching some of our back on it, was able to give some help to Victoria. So I've been very pleased with some of the things that are going on, and that's just replicated over and over across our firm. So I'm really pumped up. I think next week's going to be really exciting. We can do a little bit deeper dive in some of the numbers parts of that, because I know that that's one of the reasons why people are going to be keying in. But I do think that, at first you have to make sure you have a strong purpose. What's the purpose of your firm? That's what you're putting together, collaborative and things like that. Say, like, look, we're going to make it a little bit different. Then you start building the people around that. And once you have that, then you start driving into it and you start looking at some of the other pieces. So I'd love to deep dive on that. Take a look at the King Law Way on LinkedIn and our YouTube channel. Soon we're going to be having these, what I hope is not just going to be video, but also be a podcast that we put together and have that tightly edited in a really good consumable way. So I appreciate everybody listening in. Hope we can keep you excited and pumped up about this and how to grow a firm, and not just the how to, but actually see the ups and downs of the practice.
Yeah, I think that's a big part. And I know we're going to, as we move forward, we'll be able to dig into more specific issues and dive a little deeper there. But this is not, it's not all easy for sure. And I think some of the struggles are probably going to be a big part of what keeps us interesting. So I know we're going to have them. and times where we're stuck in the mud and things that hopefully we are able to do to push through that. But we'll see certainly how that goes. And like I said, you can see early on kind of what our thoughts are in terms of what's important, and definitely even some of the differences in the way that we approach it and look through. So hopefully we can keep some interesting content coming your way. I definitely we will be posting that Josh Valentine interview very shortly. I encourage all of you, if you're watching this, to check that out. It's fascinating stuff. And hopefully we can keep some more coming on that front too, in terms of some interesting things to dive into.
All right. See you next week.